Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We've just started recording. Thank you for joining us on this Monday, the 28th of August. My name's Derek Ballog. Thank you for joining us in the Educate for Protection meeting. This is our meeting to share what we actually do. And it's from our subscribers and people who support our work that is giving me the chance to do these meetings, to share what we have to give to everybody across our country, because this is not about one city or one state. This is a national issue, the national referendum for the voice. I'm going to give you my best information, what we use in court, and what the prosecutors, the judges, the lawyers cannot stomach. So that's what you're going to see tonight. All the documents I show you this evening. If you put down your details, because we have a lot of people who we haven't got your addresses. If you want this information, leave them in the chat box to JC. JC is the woman who does all the hard work in the background and keeps everything moving. And JC will organize to get the PowerPoint in a PDF and the documents. And if everything what I'm going to show you tonight will be available to all of you. So we're here to educate and empower you to fight for your human and lawful rights, which have all but been stripped. I hate to say it, we fight in courts. They've taken away our democratic rights to a free and fair election. They've taken away our property rights, and now they've taken away our rights to actually speak or say in public, because they're going to be shutting down our ability for freedom of speech. Our goal is to prepare Australians for the weeks ahead and share awareness of the challenges ahead by the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, and the United Nations. I get attacked outside, inside, on social media, in our emails, on our chats, because we are putting it out there that nobody else will dare to go. And this is what we are here to say. We're here to expose the darkness, expose the corruption, because if we don't say it, nobody else will. This is my way to say where we're coming from. I stand by what I say, I do what I say, and I take the King James Version of the Holy Bible into every courtroom I take, and the judges don't like it. They do not like me to take this book of law into the courtroom. This is my way of saying to everybody, tonight's meeting is an urgent call to all Australians to understand this statement. United we stand, divided we fall. At the moment, we are so divided with so many different groups trying to go in different directions. We do not understand the mentality of a Dutch farmer. They have to come together because they're under threat. We haven't got there just yet, but it's coming. So this is what we do in our paperwork, in every document we submit into our court cases. First, I have to make this very clear, and no one has ever challenged me on this. This book is the world's first book of law, royally assented by King James I of England, who was James VI of Scotland. I was corrected on this matter a few weeks ago. We use this in our paperwork. This is the basis of what we do. Ephesians 5:11, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. That's what we do in our court cases. We stand and reprove the darkness. And this is where the judges have to walk out of the courtrooms, or they have to bring in the enforcement and the security and the police to have us removed, which happened last week. Luke 11:52. I love using this to these people who call themselves lawyers. Woe unto you, lawyers, for ye have taken away the key of knowledge. Ye entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in ye hindered. In other words, they're keeping the truth from us. And this is the war that we are fighting in our courts, and we have no problem to go and do the fight. It's just that we are looking for the support, as we had in Adelaide, and we had it to a lesser degree in Melbourne. This is what we need to come together and understand. It's all of our fight. This is from the King James Version, the KJV of the Holy Bible. The world's first book of law first. Second, it's a Holy Bible. This is why it is so powerful, and it's a weapon, it's a shield in our court cases. We must give this general disclaimer because we're being attacked almost on a regular daily basis. Everywhere we speak and talk, we are drawing the wrath of these persons who have nothing better to do with their lives except to try and attack us. We are attempting to give the facts from external sources as a point of reference and our commentary for our members. We are aiming to provide the warnings to prepare for the pending challenges in the shocks from outside of our country, mainly from America at the moment, that will affect Australian families. We do not intend to offer any financial or property advice, as we are not financial planners. We are giving freely available information from public sources and the media and industry professionals. And this is for Emily Baker and Ita Buttrose of the ABC. We are not lawyers, we are social advocates. Yet they've given me all the oxygen by having a statement, which I'll show you in a few minutes' time, that they have allegedly purported thinking I said elections, mortgages, and rates, as in council rates, are all invalid. The only problem is they cannot prove me wrong. That's the only problem they have, and they're giving me the oxygen that I was craving for, and now this woman is putting it up on her website. You're free to go and have a look at it tomorrow, that she has put down that elections are a fraud, and she is going to be paying for that when I actually come to the point of getting our paperwork together. EFP have published a video with 3 outside references and the files in our presentation proving the absence of democratic election processes for at least 43 years. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want them, you can have these documents tonight. I'm giving these documents, they're publicly available. We're giving them to you as a package to demonstrate that we do the research, we do the hard yards, and we do not shy away from it. Because if we don't do this, nobody else will. Our intention is clear. It's about preparation and awareness. And in America, they are preparing, although there's a stumbling block I'm going to show you in just a moment, they're preparing to launch a new wave of COVID and mask wearing and lockdowns. And it's hit a stumbling block. This is what we are preparing for. We keep in touch and we'll share it with all of you. Why we are set apart from other social media groups? Because they can't copy what we do. We share the information you cannot and will not see on mainstream media or social media. EFP is the only advocacy group actively fighting inside Australian courthouses, so we give you a unique understanding of the facts from our court cases from within our community. We don't fear charging judges. We don't fear them because they are criminals. They do not stand under the rule of law. They do not stand under the monarch. They do not stand under the prime minister. They're doing it because they're there to make money. And when we understand this, that they are not a court, that they're a bank, then we're going to get this job done by coming together now. We discuss our reasons and our purpose in our meetings and provide our remedy and our solution. For more information about our fines and our people's class action, our unlawful dismissal meetings, send your email to efpadmin@educateforprotection.website. Freedom of speech is increasing censorship. We are feeling the attacks from people that are trying to hide behind the darkness, and they try to hide behind other people's faces. Censorship now is on steroids. It is being so supercharged and boosted that this is where we are standing right now, that our country is disappearing underneath our feet. To afford free speech, we are needing to be fully reader funded. We do not get any advertising. We don't get any outside sponsorships. It's only from our members and subscribers who keep us going. If you can help and you have in a position, whichever situation, we have so many people helping us to move forward with $20 a month, and you have access to everything we have in our library, our recordings, our documents for court, whatever your situation. People even come to me, even outside, and say, can I help with documents for councils, for companies, for banks? And that's what you have when you support us. It's a two-way street, and we are dependent on our subscribers. You'll have access to everything we have in our library, all of these videos, and all of the documents and files. For more information, what we're all about, if you want to say, what is it to say to your friends, what they don't know, and why they should join us, because we are in the fight. We are interstate in going to court and taking it to the judges who are acting outside of their jurisdiction. Our email again is efpadmin@educateforprotection.com. website. InfoWars. Some of you hate him. Some of you love him. Some of you don't even know about him. But Alex Jones is a guy who puts it out there. There was a time which I couldn't deal with him because I thought he was sensationalist. I thought he was just trying to grab a headline. I've changed that whole perspective because what he has uncovered over the years is essential to even us in Australia. On last weekend's programs, he was talking about the breaking down of how the establishment in America is changing its tune in the wake of fierce public backlash following his bombshell report of exposing Biden's plan to bring back COVID restrictions. This is what this man's doing. He's sticking it right out there. He's been sued, he's been to court, and he's won. He's come out on the other side. This is what we're trying to understand. He's also talking about and defending, whether you like him or not is not the question. He's defending former President Trump, who raised over $7 million in America since the Fulton County released his historic mugshot, in a signal that the Great Awakening is here and is only getting stronger. This is what we haven't got in Australia. That's why I'm sharing this with you. This is about getting the message out. We're not reaching nearly enough people. And this is the shame, because we've got a national referendum coming up in 7 weeks. We don't have a day to miss to get this message out. So tonight's meeting, Monday, the 28th of August, is about exposing the corruption. That's the catchphrase that I have no fear from walking away from, because all the other social media groups cannot say those 3 words in one sentence, because they're there to be a chat host. They want to be celebrities, and they've turned their back on what we're doing because they don't do the research. They don't go to court. They don't fight. They're good at throwing mud, and that's all they can do. And here we are saying, this is what we have to talk about, the hard subjects that they can't deal with. We're talking tonight about smart cities and the national referendum vote. Why do these 2 subjects matter? I'll show you in just a moment. We've got our 2 matters. The council corporations, why is this so important? There's no such thing as a council. The moment we start using the correct language, I go to court and I call them by their first name and corporation, because they have an ABN and they pay GST and they do not work for you and I. So when you make a donation of council rates, or you pay them a parking fine, you're making a donation to a company. Would you make a donation to McDonald's? Would you make a donation to Telstra? Of course not. But that's what we're doing to these companies, is we're paying a donation because we have to have a contract to deal with them. The most important subject in our country today is the national referendum vote, a critical moment in our country's history. Even Grandmother Malara, who I've had the pleasure to meet, has put together a series of videos and talks, and I met her in Queensland, and she has told me the elders of this First Nations peoples were never consulted, never spoken to, were not part of the conversation. That's why it's a fraud. If the people concerned were not involved, there must be a political reason behind it. We are going to put the spotlight on the letter that we are in the process of finishing, but the number of calls we are taking each day, I was on the phone all day, Saturday and Sunday, taking calls mainly from New South Wales and Queensland for some reason, but that's what it is. And that's what I'm doing, is taking calls from people who are in distress of losing properties. I've got a figure of nearly 20 homes a day are being repossessed by the banks in Sydney alone. 20 a day, every day, including Saturday. That's incredible. That is absolutely astounding that this will never, ever get out on mainstream media. I don't have any other numbers for other cities, but it doesn't matter. One is too many when there's a fraud. And this is where I'm coming from. So this year, it's about our protection for you and your family, because we have got to get a message out as quickly as we can. And I'm dependent. I'm asking your help to share this for people to join us in the future weeks as we get closer and closer to Holy October. I mean that because it's going to happen to be changing our country from where we used to be to a socialist Australia. The 10th and 11th of October is the Smart City Expo for the whole world. It's the 14th International Smart City Expo in Sydney. 3 days later, Mr. Albanese wants you to vote for the national referendum. And if that happens, we've lost our properties. It's gone. It's over. This is where we're coming from. So for our friends who are watching us, this is an open door. We don't have any restrictions. We don't have any fear of the trolls anymore, because we know that they have nowhere to go. They come from a cold, dark, damp place. We have to make this disclaimer. We are not lawyers. We are not legal practitioners. We are advocates fighting for all Australians, our human, property, and democratic rights. And if this doesn't fit well with the socialists, bad luck, because we won't be stopping, because of your help, your trust, and your absolutely kind words that keep me going every week. The latest news. I'm repeating this, but it's changing only very small, but I'm making this point because it makes a big difference at the end. We're sharing stories from within Australia and outside our country that affect Australian families. The most important date coming up is the 14th International Smart Cities Expo in Sydney on the 10th and 11th of October, and they are inviting people from around the world to come in and to tell us why it's good for climate change to lock us down, to say we cannot eat meat and we cannot go outside and travel outside of our council areas. We've got international people telling us how we should live. This is why people in Sydney need to understand. We've got 7 weeks left. They are going to be hosting this meeting. Then we have 3 days later, the national referendum for the voice on the 14th of October. This is the end of the story. When they can get away with pulling off this fraud after pulling off every election for 43 years, that means we have no more rights to our properties, gone. Because they're going to say, we will be part of the World Economic Forum, and the slogan is, no one will own anything and will be happy. That's why it is going to be a changing month. It's a critical month of October. 7 weeks away. Then, last week, on the 22nd of August, the BRICS nations came together. They've met, and their group, their circle has expanded already. They have got more countries wanting to join this bloc to counter the greater 7 nations of Europe, which is primarily America, Canada, England, Germany, France, Italy, and Japan. I think I've got that right. This is a counter. These are the alternative nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and Saudi Arabia. And this means that there is going to be a currency war. What does that mean? It means they're setting up their own gold-backed currency called BRICS Plus. And I've got the link that they've even got a payment system to be able to facilitate that with their BRICS Plus currency. This is a direct challenge to the US dollar, in which the Australian dollar is directly connected to. We're on the wrong side of this currency war. If you want to know more about this, I'll talk about this another time. I'm just launching the whole process that this is going to affect us. How? Increasing of prices, because we're on the wrong side. Saudi Arabia is dealing with every other country in the world now outside of US dollars. Right. The trusted digital ID. I am fighting for people in Victoria and in Queensland who have been stood down from their jobs because they did not provide a digital ID, which is not law. This is astounding that we can't get thousands of people to understand. It is not law. Yet companies are saying, if you do not provide this, you'll be stood down without pay. This is akin to stealing or committing a crime that you have been pushed out of your job and you can't go back without collecting your income. We've got good men who have to go through the hoops to qualify with all the restrictions and government legislation, who've done nothing wrong except objected to something which is not in law. If we don't do something, it's going to get worse, because they will say Australians don't care. I'm going to use the language. This is not about any one person. It's about all of us. We collectively do not care as a country. We're letting these people do this and turn our country upside down. The next one, Your Prime Minister has said he wants to outlaw social media. Any company that wants to allow anybody to speak against the government is going to be fined millions, which means we're going to be blocked, we're going to be cut off, and we're going to be excluded from social media. This is the plan. If you don't follow the line, if you don't do as they say, you'll be cut off at every different channel. These two bills are in the process of going through the system now, and we're saying nothing about it. I will. And that's why these socialists are going crazy, because they attack us because they're trying to find a way to throw some mud at us. All I'm doing is exposing the corruption. They have no authority over you to tell you you must give all your private information in exchange for a digital ID number. And no one can take away your freedom of speech, because we did not vote for communism at the last federal election, because Albanese did not win. He had 350,000 plus votes less than the Liberal Party, and he walked in with a landslide. That we should be outraged, but we're not. Then the destruction of our certificates of title. This is the most important issue, which I can't get enough people to understand. This means you don't own your home, and people don't want to believe me. I said this before. The New South Wales government brought this in during lockdown, that people had lost their property rights, and they didn't believe me. And now I'm getting the phone calls. I'm getting people saying, what do we do now? I said, we have to stop the referendum. We have to say no. But not just say no. I'm going to give you my suggestion, and the rest is up to you. So we are offering and protecting our members' funds against the incoming Australian digital ID and central bank digital currency. We have a safe banking alternative outside of these two systems for the control of your money. More info if you want to know, just by leaving a message in the box. Oops, just a little bit too far. Councils. This is going to become a burning issue. Why? Because of what's going to happen in 7 weeks' time. Councils no longer operate in Australia. I'll repeat that. Councils do not any longer operate in our country. They have been converted into a corporation like Telstra, like McDonald's, like the Commonwealth Bank. EFP has the documents from the Australian Taxation Office to confirm they are incorporated entities. If we have enough people asking for them tonight in the chat box, I will include those documents inside the PDF to prove to you, you are donating money to a company. You may as well just go and donate $100 or whatever to McDonald's and say, here's my donation. It's the same entity. It's a company. It's a corporation. All council corporations have been registered as a corporation at the Australian Business Register Service, the same office that wants all your personal information for the digital ID. This is what we expose. This is where we say no one is going to tell us what is going to be hidden. We expose this and shine a bright light. Council rates are in fact a property tax. Yes, we have the document to share. It's a tax. Companies cannot tax. They can issue a tax invoice with an agreement called a contract, but they cannot charge a tax. This is what we need to be outraged. I'll say it now. I'll say it publicly. I do not consent to contract without a document, an agreement to pay a property tax on my property. I say, this is what I say in public. I have a court case. I have the documents from the tax office. And my corporation that I deal with, they cannot refute the paperwork, and they have more coming. This is what we stand by. We actually stand up on these issues. Note, a corporation cannot charge anyone a property tax legally, but councils seem to be accepted because we've allowed this to happen. Our ignorance and our blindsided to the issues, what's happening right before us, is now going to cost us because people are being threatened with losing their homes. Council corporations are anticipating the 14th International Smart City Expo in Sydney on the 10th and 11th of October, 2023, in 7 weeks' time. I'm going to show you the slide in just a second, which I've been showing every week, to find out where are the groups of people that need to hear what do we have to do. We've been doing public meetings that we know councils, as you would call them, are the key. We need to open up that problem before we can go further. But too many groups are so egotistical about their own way, they're missing the point that our fragmentation is going to cost us. Here is the website, smartcityexpo.com.au, and the email, info@smartcityexpo.com.au. This will be a PDF. Every slide, I want to give them out to anybody who wants them, because we've only got 7 weeks left. There's the slide that was given to me some time ago. I'm putting down the fact that this is what we've been talking about, but we just cannot get the traction about getting enough people upset about this. This is what you need to understand. It's a done deal. Welcome to the 14th International Smart City Expo in Sydney. You can fly to Sydney or join the party live online. It's a festival. Anybody can join. You'll be seeing how climate change is going to be affected, but we've got a solution. Lock everybody down. No one will be able to drive a gas-powered car, and you're going to have to cut back your consumption of meat. Excuse me. And by the way, I do have a video that Bill Gates is a leading shareholder in 4 companies that's making synthetic meat, synthetic beef, synthetic chicken, synthetic pork, and he is the largest shareholder to benefit from the regulation to drive us to buy more synthetic meat and to overprice and to regulate organic meat to be so expensive the average family can't afford it. Bill Gates is the epitome of evil, that he is driving the change for profit as opposed to what is right and what is natural. There it is. I've got this. I'm going to stand by this. I spoke about the fact that on the 11th of October, 2021, the state of New South Wales Incorporated passed laws to abolish your certificates of title. This was in the middle of the biggest and heaviest lockdowns in Sydney. No one was interested because they were worried about distractions, that they could not travel outside their council. 2 years on, exactly to the day, New South Wales is a global smart city. And if you think I'm kidding, I didn't have the space to put it in tonight. I can prove to you that Melbourne and Sydney are C40 signatories. What's a C40 signatory? They believe that we should stop driving petrol-driven cars, that we should cut down our consumption of meat to 1 kilo a year. I'm not kidding. And that we shouldn't be allowed to travel more than 1,500 kilometers every 3 years with a permit on an aeroplane. This is the madness of these people because we choose not to do anything about it. And this is where I'm saying this every week. We are looking for the men and women who hear what I'm saying, and we are getting a lot of people coming back and helping us with private prosecutions. Tonight, it's our letter to the powers that be, which is incomplete as of tonight, but we'll have it finished tomorrow. If you wish to join us and say, where is the writ for the national referendum on the 14th of October? Ladies and gentlemen, it won't exist because there is no Governor General in our country for 50 years. It will be rammed through if we do not speak up. Our public meetings, we've got this recorded. We've got an interview I did with Darren Bergworth the day before the federal election last year, and he said it was rigged, it was controlled, it was manufactured, it was broken. Darren Bergworth has got the documentation which he gave to us that there were no writs available for the federal election until 10:30 p.m. the night before, and they were all done incorrectly. This is what we're talking about. We've captured this. Then we've got the Darren Dixon interview with Mike Palmer the day after saying, well, yeah, we've got some proof, but we think the election might be a little bit inconsistent with the Constitution. I'm saying to Darren Dixon, What are you going to say about the national referendum? How can you say it might be a little bit inconsistent if there were no writs? Why don't you just say the word treason? Then we can all get on with the job of trying to get together and unite Australians. The third video is Grandmother Malara saying that the First Nations people were never consulted. They were never part of the conversation. They do not need to be part of a corporate constitution. I'm hoping with our connections, if we are able to show it tonight, it's only 7 minutes. I need this on the record again for everyone to see. Grandmother Malara has made the most compelling argument. It's a fraud. And no one is behind it except Anthony Albanese to help us to get even quicker into the New World Order and the World Economic Forum. I have to use this language because not enough people care. And that's the overwhelming point I have to make. We've got the public meeting videos and the files with our remedy in the package at the bottom of your screen. This, you can take a photo with your camera. We'll give you a PDF. You'll have them and you can copy and paste. We've got the record. We just need support to get this message out. The constitutional referendum and the voice. This is the reason why you've joined us this evening, because you'd like to hear what we have to share. I'll share you the documents we have, which we talk about in our public meetings, and we'll give them to you, because every Australian should have the proof. They do not run elections in our country under law. They're a shambles. They're a mess. Everything is broken, and they're trying to take back credibility. We're giving them that credibility by our silence. Okay, the national referendum for the voice. The last national referendum held was the 6th of November, 1999 for the Republic. I'm not kidding. It was for the Republic. Or we could remain under the monarchy. Each state voted in the majority to remain under the British constitutional monarchy. In other words, no change. Australians have a habit of voting against a national referendum. They prefer to keep the same. And that's what we did in 1999. The new national referendum is to include the voice, which has no consent from the elders of the United Tribes, for inclusion into the corporate constitution, a modified version of the Constitution Act 1900. To hold a national referendum, the relevant section of the Constitution Act 1900, section 128, is the mode of altering the Constitution. To initiate a national referendum requires a writ. What's a writ? It's a document signed by a Governor-General or a state governor to have an election, a vote. And that's exactly what we do not have. We do not have recognised appointed Governor-Generals or governors for in excess of 50 years. This is what we're talking about. If there is no Governor-General or governor, there's no elections, there's no laws, there's no state of emergency, there's no mandates. End of story. They have to be appointed by the monarch under our constitutional system. We voted to keep it in 1999. We do not have a Governor-General who was under the former Queen or the current King of the United Kingdom who can issue a writ. I'm going to show you some writs this evening which are all defective and disabled and broken. Prime Minister Albanese, MP, repledged his oath of allegiance to the newly coronated King on the 6th of May 2023 by kissing the ring on King Charles' hand. We have the video and articles to give you. We need this information to get out there. And thank you to Susan from New South Wales who helped me to do this under a lot of pressure and shortage of time. Susan has given us some links to give everybody, and we need to have a few more pieces to close the gap. Albanese doesn't know which day it is to do which oath on which day to who. They're all different. This is what we're going to show you. In order to initiate a national referendum, both houses of federal parliament must vote on a bill, which then goes to the electors. That's exactly what has happened. They went through without any hitch, without any conversation. And this is what's happening now is we have a date, October the 14th. The Australian Electoral Commission, the AEC, will organise for, again, an incomplete, invalid election, the national referendum, but cannot legally provide a writ from a constitutionally appointed Governor-General. Hurley is a public servant. He is not a constitutional Governor-General to sign any election papers, much less a national referendum. The purported Governor-General did not issue the necessary writs for the House of Representatives elections in April and May in 2022. This was for the federal election last year. He was only a witness. We have these writs. This is what drives everybody crazy, because we don't give up until we get the answers, and we've got them, and we'll give them to you. This national referendum is neither valid or legal without a writ. The oaths of allegiance. This is where I say thank you again to Susan. Susan is a lovely lady I've met who comes from the central coast of New South Wales and went to find these references. This is why I'm so grateful for people who do put their hand up and say, what do we need to find? We are trying to get ourselves into court cases. We are fighting and defending people who are being pushed down and pushed out of their homes or their jobs or their businesses. This is where we desperately ask for people's help. If you've got time and you have an interest in research, everything comes back to our whole community. The internet link to Albanese swearing in as Prime Minister last year, this gives you a pictorial evidence as well as adding to it in print. This is what we're talking about. We have the link, and here it is. Then we have the coronation. The second link shows clearly the crowning moment of King Charles, and yes, it is the St. Edward's crown. Despite information we got, it was something else. Note the large cross on the front of the fleur-de-lis on each side. This is proving this is the correct crown. We have now got a direct link to King Charles now, courtesy of your Prime Minister, who repledged his oath of allegiance, his secular oath of allegiance, I might add. There's the YouTube link. Then the next video shows King Charles, how he's changed crowns for a lighter weight state crown because the St. Edward's crown stays at Westminster, and he changes crown to take that to his ceremonials and his processions. So we've got these links. If you want them, you can take a photo, or we'll give you this in a PDF. This is what we are sharing. It's a fraud because we've now got the Constitution on our side. This places every judge, every lawyer, every police prosecutor, every court staff out on the street. They do not stand under the crown. They don't stand under the Prime Minister, who has repledged his secular oath of allegiance to the King of England. If we don't understand this, it's going to cost us. This is where we come from. Houston, we have a problem. No, we have a big problem. We have done an exhaustive amount of research to uncover that our Constitution is still ours to fight for in court. But on the 7th of August, we came across a video from a lady, I believe her name was Karen Brewer, and we've come into the knowledge of her video, and this woman turns this whole concept on its head. And I was terrified. I was shocked. I was gobsmacked. In the space of a couple of minutes, this woman turned everything that we are fighting for completely inside out and upside down. I'm sorry to say we have been defrauded. Let me say to you all, whether you like it or not, whether whatever background you come from, whether you're a believer or not, you're all Catholics. And that means what? We have the video that at Government House in Melbourne, they have removed the original imperial crown and replaced it with a papal crown. And Karen Brewer, if that's her name, we've got this video, has said it's been deceptively removed. The color of the stone is different. There is a hairline crack all the way along. It is not the imperial crown. And that's what they stand under. If we do not understand what these things are, we are going to be falling to the wayside because they are doing it in front of us. And that's why we're saying we've got this video to share with anybody who wants to see it, to say, okay, what do we have to do? We need to get numbers to send out these letters. Where is the writ for the national referendum? And that won't be one. The LexisNexis Concise Dictionary. I had to go and look it up with my friend on the weekend, and here is the wording for a definition for referendum. A submission by the government for proposed laws to the vote of electors for their approval or disapproval, usually by a bare majority of votes cast. A common manner and form requirement of the constitutional amendments. The Commonwealth Constitution is entrenched by Section 128, which requires proposed amendments to be approved by referendum by both a majority of Australian voters and by a majority of voters in a majority of Australian states. That means more than 3 states must approve and be in support of the voice for this to be taken through. We will see what happens. Apparently, Western Australia, South Australia, Queensland and Tasmania are voting against the voice. It is principally, the last time I heard a week ago, Victoria and New South Wales are in support. So at the moment, it's a line ball game. It's not over yet, but this is where we're standing. This is where I'm going to upset a few people, because this is how politicians treat you, me, my family, your families. We are idiots, because this is the definition under the law. A term historically used to describe a person. If you know him, you've heard me before, you do not want to be called a person. That's an insult. It means you're dead. It means you have no rights. It means you cannot sign a contract. It means if you drive a car, you're a person, you'll be paying a price. A person in whom there exists a mental defectiveness of such a degree that the person is unable to guard against a common physical danger. You make up your own decision what a common physical danger is. I'll call them a politician every day of the week. Also, this is in a New South Wales case, also using Binet's IQ scale to describe a person with an IQ below 20. This is covered by legislation under the Mental Health Act. If they consider you have an IQ below 20, you can be locked up for the rest of your life under the Mental Health Act. And they are treating us today. They are not going to tell us how to vote, whether you put a tick, a cross, a line, yes or no. I'm going to give you my opinion, and that's all it is. And you make your own decision what you're going to do on the 14th of October. The Prime Minister's dilemma, the contradiction. I'm going to put this up on social media on this page alone by itself. Your Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese MP, firstly, did not make an oath of allegiance to the monarch, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, on the 23rd of May 2022. He made it to the Commonwealth of Australia. He did it to the land. Your Prime Minister did make a secular oath to the newly coronated King, His Majesty King Charles III, his heirs and successors, etc., on the 6th of May 2023, reaffirming our rights under the Constitution. Which one? He didn't make that clear. The Australian government website, under the Royal Styles and Titles Act, refers to the King of Australia, a corporate entity, with thanks to Michael. This does not change the fact a writ by an appointed Governor-General by the monarch, which is first required to commence the process of a national referendum. We don't have a Governor-General. That's a fact. We ask your support to take our letter to send to the Australian Electoral Commissioner, Thomas J. Rogers, for a copy of the Governor-General's writ for this referendum. This is going up on social media tomorrow morning. Your vote. What to do on the 14th of October. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever's listening to this, whether you watch it on Monday night or you watch it the next day or following after that, you have a decision to make. You cannot simply say, I'll go with the flow. I'll go and listen to what the mainstream media tells me. I'll just go and vote whatever they say. Because this is too important. If this goes through, it means we have nothing left. They have taken away our country underneath our feet. This is my opinion. You can vote knowing the whole process was a fraud, or you can consciously decide not to vote. So what next? We have the documents and letters to challenge the national referendum today. Not next year, not we'll give it a try. We've got the proof now. We hope we can locate a group of people in each state and territory who want to walk with us and challenge this fraudulent vote to railroad the First Nations people into a corporate constitution they want no part of. We are writing the letter that every Australian needs to ask of the Prime Minister and Governor-General. We all need your help. We must demand a copy of the writ for this referendum from Thomas J. Rogers, Commissioner of the Australian Electoral Commission. The letter and the question. This is our question, but we have not had time because of the enormous number of calls we receive, and tomorrow I'm expecting a flood of emails to come into our box after we get this out on social media. How can an Australian elector be summoned to participate and vote in a national referendum without a valid writ? This letter will be finalised tomorrow without fail because of timelines and because it's urgent and we don't have a second chance. It will be finished by tomorrow, Tuesday, the 29th of August. If you wish to join us, please contact us with your name and email in the chat to JC, or send your email to efpadmin@educateforprotection.website. This is our subscribers helping us with our research and knowledge to do what has to be done and get these documents into everybody's hand. We'll do the hard work. We just need your help to share this document to everybody you know. How can we unite behind the national referendum? Firstly, we have been seeking 1,000 women and men to support our plan to send our letter of request for the copy of the mandatory writ to hold the national referendum. Then we will ask those 1,000 people, women and men, to help us fill in the private prosecution charges for misprision of treason into the Australian parliamentary houses and the courthouses in each state and territory. Members can live anywhere in Australia. Your support will be greatly appreciated. We will discuss and explain how to complete these 2-page forms, and we'll do them for you. We'll put them all together, as we have done with the private prosecutions for the court cases. We've got our plan. We've had a few bugs. We've now worked out a way to get this to people faster. We'll fill in the form for you. All you need to put is your name and address, and then we're going to send them off. When we unite, when we decide we've had enough of the lies, the fraud and deception, we will overturn this nightmare and reclaim our country back from the New World Order elitist globalists. And I mean, we've got the photographs of Anthony Albanese becoming good friends with Bill Gates, who wants nothing about our future but about our profit and to take money from our pockets and keep us poor. And I mean that. When he's going to be part of companies to make synthetic meat, he's in part of owning all the farmland in America, and he's going to be doing this to drive change of regulations against people driving cars and not being able to fly, but while he has his own private jet. This is madness. We need to understand we have to stop this referendum. We are looking for patriots. No one else is using this word. I'm going to use it. The Americans love this word. I'm going to use it for our community. Have I taken your attention? I hope so. Yes, we are looking for patriots. To borrow from our American friends, we will provide you with a choice. Option 1. Now you have the proof, and I'm going to show you the proof and give it to you, and confirmation that the 2022 federal election and so many other elections over so many years were deeply fraudulent. You may choose and decide to vote in this referendum. Or we offer you, friends, to join us to be part of our army of Australians to abstain from a vote on the 14th of October 2023 based on the treason. This won't work with 5 people. It won't work with 50 people. It needs an army of Australians to say, we get this. We can't vote for this. Please take your time. We don't ask you for your answer tonight. There's 7 weeks to go. We will discuss this every week leading up to the 14th of October. Just think about this. I'm here to present you facts, which no other groups can do. We've got the facts, which we have obtained, and I'm going to give them to you, because that's where we come from, the truth. We have 7 weeks before we are required to vote. We will discuss this subject every week until we can uncover what we have to do. We are calling for researchers to uncover documents. We have been blessed by members in the past helping us to uncover documents from elections, the writs and paperwork to expose the election fraud. And I'm extremely grateful to those men and women who took time out to help us, because there's a limitation on what we can do. We are ready to fight in court, but we just don't have the numbers to be able to do enough research to pull out the answers, and they're all there for us to take. We need your help to continue discovering the documents and videos to support our work for the benefit of our community. We've had so many people, wonderful people, offering, and now I'm putting my hand out to say, we need help. We need to dig and obtain information to prove these politicians have no authority. The judges in the courts have no authority, because Anthony Albanese has put everybody on the wrong side of the page by his repledging of his secular oath of allegiance. And when other celebrity groups out there, and I mean that, start coming down off their clouds and they start saying, let's unite, we can finish this. Why? We have the people and they're ready to go. If you have an interest to research documents and support the private prosecution process and now the national referendum vote, please send your email to efpadmin@educateforprotection.website research, because we have got documents we have to pull out. We've got documents from every state and territory to build a document package for all of us. That's the response I have for all of you. Everybody in this community will be getting this paperwork. It's for everyone to see. The new laws we never voted for on the 21st of May, 2022. The misinformation law, the submission is now closed. We don't have a final figure how many people sent in that submission letter. We have requested information and we will ask who sent this letter, and we will follow up with ACMA. ACMA is the industry body which deals with communication and the media. They seem to have a separate place in society because they seem to be above and outside the law. These are the gatekeepers that schools, universities, and the government will be exempt from the misinformation law. But everybody else speaking against the government will be considered criminals, which means this meeting will be in doing a criminal activity in telling the truth, because it won't fit the government narrative. The Trusted Identity Bill. I'm speaking with a gentleman from Central Queensland who is sitting at home with his family because he did not want to give a digital ID. It is not law. And that was backed up by Gerard Rennick's office, Senator Gerard Rennick's office, at the time of the event, that there was no law. We should be outraged, and we're not, because it's clashing with the football and the rugby. I have to say it, they have distracted us so well that we can't focus on the real problems because we're being overfed with sport. And this is going to cost us. So I talk like this, I speak to people every day like this because we have no time. This bill is still passing through the parliament as we speak tonight. If we let these 2 laws go through, it's over. It's finished. We can't speak. We can't do anything. We can't buy food if we don't have a digital ID. It's done. This is what we need to understand. News from overseas and from around the world. I'm going to make this a regular section because I have a mountain of information. I'm trying to work out how to squeeze this in because this is so important to us. Europe has passed laws for social media censorship. Just in, Europe's Digital Services Act is now in force. Large online platforms risk heavy fines if they fail to police hate speech and disinformation more aggressively. I'm just giving you the headline to show you there is a Digital Services Act where they're punishing social media companies if people are speaking and providing what the government considers disinformation. Who makes that decision? The government, of course. So if I'm speaking against the government that Anthony Albanese is not properly elected, this could be considered hate speech. I understand what's happening now. We are shifting to a socialist country and we Australians are not ready just yet. But it's going to happen because they've got the plans already. This law is going through the parliament right now in Australia. Executive Order 14067. If you haven't heard of this, well, I'm going to tell you about it now. This is where President Biden, which everybody knows is not the real Biden, it's a different man, it's a fill-in, it's an actor. His executive order was done outside of the Congress and the Senate, and it could pave the way for social credit systems just like in China. In China, if you say the wrong thing on social media, forget to pay a bill, or even play music too loud, you could be labeled as untrustworthy. This is what's happening in China now. They can then take away your ability to travel, restrict your internet access, deny your family the best schools or jobs. They can even take away your pets. All of this is going on right now. This is from Jim Rickards, one of the most influential voices in America about what is happening. He's a lawyer. He's worked for the Department of Defense. He's worked for the CIA. And I listen to what he says because no one can talk about what he said. This is what they are scared is coming into America. If it happens in America, it's going to happen in Australia. I'm telling everybody because I have an obligation to you. You are here to listen to what I'm saying. I'm giving it to you because I get this in my inbox every single day. And I will keep on going as long as you want to listen. Did China kill the US dollar? Most people won't even know what this means. I'm going to give you a very short version of what this means. Last week, on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of August, the BRICS nations came together in South Africa to form a new union, a new bloc, outside of the Europeans and America, contrary to everything they're doing with their own currency. The media doesn't want you to know about it because China just settled its first energy deal using its own currency, not the US dollar. This is the first time it's happened. This means the US dollar has lost its power as the world reserve currency. As one independent journalist reported, it must be emphasized how historic this is. For decades, virtually all energy, oil, gas, etc., from the Persian Gulf was sold in US dollars. Now China is buying LNG from the United Arab Emirates in its own currency, the yuan. The US economic hegemony has heavily relied upon the petrodollar, the system, which is now breaking apart. This could be catastrophic for the United States. If it's catastrophic for the United States, ladies and gentlemen, we are connected to the United States. Our banks are owned by the United States banks. A world without dollar hegemony could topple our economy and make our debts unpayable and end our international dominance. This is written by Jim Rickards and his people. Biden and the Democrats understand this political and economic reality, and their only alternative is a central bank digital currency. That's not on the screen. I'm saying that to you from the emails I receive, which means if it's going to happen in America, we are not far behind because our banks will follow the same process as the US banks. People call us every day about what to do with their properties. We've got people who are property owners. We've got people who are property investors, and they have rental properties, and they are terrified. Martha is returning with her next installment for the property owners and property investors this Friday, the 1st of September at 7:30 p.m. Martha will discuss the current situation and challenges ahead, and also reveal and discuss the unique government-approved, by contract and guaranteed property investment to protect your family going into 2024 and beyond, with the safest income stream by the Australian government. If you'd like to join our meeting, send a message to JC in the chat or send your email with the subject property seminar. I keep on getting people saying, what do we do? We've heard about this from other groups about the birth certificate and we can pay our electricity bill. I said, walk away. Walk away from anybody trying to take money off you to think you can use a birth certificate to reinvent money to pay your electricity or your water bill or your gas bill. You will end up in court. I used to write those promissory notes. I used to write those papers, and I understood how to do them. I did them properly. Not one ever came back. I've written hundreds of millions of dollars worth of promissory notes to pay out mortgages, and I gave them to the banks, and they never, ever came back. Now it's a different story. They're blocking them. They don't want people to know about them. It's a weapon, it's a tool, and the door's being closed. If you do not understand how to use what is your birth certificate, if you don't know that we are not standing on Australia, you need to get that link of the first video. You cannot search for it on YouTube. It was blocked. You need the link to put that straight into the browser, and it'll take you there. We have a copy because we know it's going to disappear. If you don't know what is Australia, where it is, I'm not going to tell you where it is, but you are not standing on Australia. That's why you need a driver's license, you need a birth certificate, and you need a port pass, which you would normally call a passport, to enter what is the correct word for the land you're standing on. Then, your birth certificate, if you haven't seen Warcastle's NWO, you are missing what's going on. Because this is an issue. When you go to court, they trade your birth certificate. When you deal with the government to get Centrelink benefits or Services Australia benefits, you are dealing with the Australian government. They are dealing with your birth certificate. If you haven't seen Warcastle's NWO, you need to watch it. I have seen it 10 times, and every time I watch it, I make a stronger connection. What the heck is going on? I can't say it enough. You need to watch this video. And the second video, Warcastle's ~0, is no longer available on YouTube. It's been taken down. I have that second part of Warcastles that you need to watch. If you haven't seen them, I beg you, please. They're only 1 hour, and the What is Australia is 20 minutes. Warcastles is 1 hour, 10 minutes. It is not a movie that'll take you all night. But once you watch it, you need to watch it a second and a third time to understand the links. To understand what's happening in our crazy world, you must know some history. To better understand what has been happening, you need to understand what's happened many, many decades ago and even centuries ago. I'm going to say this because a lot of people may not grab this and they'll turn away. The Jesuit Illuminati is aiming for one world totalitarian government, religion, and currency. I haven't got the link to show you this evening. I have got a video about King Charles III, which made my jaw drop. I will give it to you next week because there was so much information I had to keep out of tonight. There's the link. This is for you to watch to understand why we're in this chaos now. It's been planned. It is not a mistake. That's why we have to stop this whole process of this national referendum. If you'd like to catch up with us and you can't make your questions about a personal matter, about your family, you can contact us in a private and confidential manner. If you want to ask anything about superannuation or taxation, I cannot help you. I am not qualified. I do not have the ability to help you with taxation or super. But if you're dealing with court, please contact me and I will be in touch with you. This is for people who cannot bring up a family matter or a personal matter in our conversations after our presentation. Our social media pages, I'll put that up there. This will be on our PDF that we send out to everybody. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Telegram, we're on LinkedIn. We're doing this for no other reason is to get this information out and to reach as many people who do care before things change. And please understand, once they get the Smart City Expo and the national referendum out of the way, changes are guaranteed to happen because they're happening from overseas and primarily the United States. We are here to inform and let people know it's not about one matter in court. It's not about one council rates matter. We are talking about what they're going to do to change our country where we will be shut out and locked in to our own council areas. So if you want to keep a record or take a photo, there's our way to keep in touch with us, because we are getting people saying they can't get the links. This is our way to do so, because to do bulk email, the costs are increasing every month. They're even putting up the prices to send out bulk email, and that is costing us just to get the message out. On top of the cost, we have to run a Zoom. On top of the cost, we have to put all of our videos and documents on a place like Teachables. If you have any questions, how to do so, which way, please send us an email and we'll get you connected. To connect with us and be part of what we're doing, our email address is efpadmin@educateforprotection.website. And our website is called the same address, www.educateforprotection.website. If you have any questions that you're not sure of, you'd like to do something, you'd like to work at what to do, you want to know about what we're doing about people challenging their fines or the unlawful dismissal group, that I promised you, I'm going to prove to you that there can be no legal and valid national referendum. So let's start the process. Oops, I don't want to show you that picture just yet. Let me just go to our friends up in New South Wales. Why? Because we show this document every time we do a public meeting. It gives you a picture of the separation of what I'm just about to show you. I will give you all of these pages, so don't worry. They're going to be part of the PDF from tomorrow morning. Okay, this is the writ for the election of senators for the Commonwealth of Australia federal election, 21st of May, 2022. May last year. This is for New South Wales. So, for senators, there's a cycle. There are 12 senators per state and 2 for the territories. Every year, every election, 6 senators up for election, and the other 6 continue on. So there are an election for 6 people to run for the Senate for each state in the last election. Before I go any further, on the left-hand side of that red square, red seal, it says witness. On the right-hand side, you see our trustee and well-beloved Her Excellency, the Honourable Margaret Beazley, QC, Queen's Counsel, Governor of the state of New South Wales. So she's a witness. There's her signature. She's actually signed underneath the seal. It should be the other way around. But that's not the worst problem. This is showing the governor is a witness to the document to vote for people to be the senators for New South Wales. If we scroll down, beneath Margaret Beazley's signature is the Premier of New South Wales at the time, Dominic Perrottet. Dominic Perrottet is not listed in the Constitution to issue the papers for an election. He's a politician. But Margaret Beazley, who is the governor, she should be issuing this document. She's a witness, which means she did not make this document. That's New South Wales. Okay, I'm watching the clock because we have a lot to get through now. So please bear with me and I'll talk about what the problems are and I'll show you. This is the Commonwealth of Australia, State of Victoria, and look at how they do the next line. Elizabeth II in words. Already, that is not the Queen that we used to know. This is something else. Every king, every queen of England and the Pope can use Roman numerals in their name, not words. This is not the same Elizabeth that we knew. Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen of Australia. Oops, hold on. Where did the Queen of Australia come from? It's a fiction. It's a piece of paper. It's a fraud. This is how Victorians voted for the election of senators last May under the Queen of Australia. So this is what we're talking about. You've seen the difference, and we haven't even started between New South Wales and Victoria. I scroll down the page. You see the witness, Her Excellency, the Honourable Linda Dessau, Governor of the State of Victoria. She signs it, but there's a problem. There's no state seal. It hasn't been completed. It is deficient. It's defective. It's disabled. There's no seal, as you saw in New South Wales. But if we scroll down, you'll see Dan Andrews, the man who stole the election, he signs the paperwork. But it doesn't finish there. It gets worse. Because beneath Dan Andrews is somebody else. This secretary from the Department of Premier and Cabinet, the last signature on a contract, that's what this is the person who issued the writ. It should be the governor. That's what the law says in Section 12 of your Constitution. Somebody, which we do not know who it is, a secretary, issued the election papers for the election of senators. This is what we should be outraged about. There's no election for the federal election last year. We've just destroyed New South Wales and Victoria. The two largest states by population have destroyed the election. So we have a problem. So let's go to the election of the House of Representatives in Victoria. This is for the election of members in our state, of my state of Victoria. Here it is, the greetings. We have the witness, His Excellency General of the Honourable David Hurley, Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia. No problem. He signs it. No, not so quick. If we scroll down, he's been oversigned and he is the witness because a politician by the name of Ben Morton from Western Australia, Special Minister of State underneath Scott Morrison, he issued the paperwork. Hold on. So the Governor-General did not issue the writ for the House of Representatives. Correct. This is the man on your screen on the top right-hand corner who's meant to be issuing your national referendum writ. He didn't sign the papers for the election last year. Ben Morton lost his job. He didn't get elected. He lost his job to the Labor Party and he left. This means the criminal exited. He's left. But David Hurley stays behind. Right. So is that just a one-off? No. Let's look at New South Wales. This is the House of Representatives for New South Wales to show you the proof. There it is, Thomas Joseph Rogers, the Electoral Commissioner of the Australian Electoral Commission. He's got his name all over the fraud. He knows exactly what's gone wrong. There it is. This is New South Wales. Witness, His Excellency General, the Honourable David Hurley, retired Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, signed by Ben Morton. Hold on. So Victoria and New South Wales was signed by a politician. Absolutely correct. It was witnessed by your supposed Governor General. Again, I'm showing you on the screen. Whoever is first and highest is the witness. Whoever's at the bottom of this contract is the one who issued the piece of paper. It's like any contract. Whoever's at the bottom is the one who issues that piece of paper and puts their name to it. Ben Morton, who is no longer in politics, issued the election papers for the House of Representatives. This is a very big problem. Now, with thanks to Michael in Brisbane, Michael has uncovered a document, so I give him credit. He did the finding of this paperwork. This is the Australian government with the corporate logo. Corporate because the kangaroo and emu have been copyrighted in Switzerland by the First Nations people, the United Tribes. So it's their property, and they're still using it today, thinking that nobody will notice. Okay, this is how we call our king and our queen. So Michael uncovered this piece of information, and I'm going to show you how you contact and how you communicate with your king. You always capitalize the titles of current royals. So always use capitals for the title of the current Australian monarch. Okay, so the full title of the current monarch of Australia is, in inverted commas, Charles III, in words, not Roman numerals, by the grace of God, King of Australia. Oh my gosh, we have a problem, because you've just seen the federal election writ by Dan Andrews for the Queen of Australia. Now the Australian government has taken the next step, changed her, and now we have the King of Australia. This is the fraud that we are now showing to you, because Anthony Albanese repledged his secular oath of allegiance to King Charles III with Roman numerals on the 6th of May this year. This is the fraud. We are going to document this and give it to everybody who wants it. All right. We go to the next document. I'll try and make it very quick. This was the New South Wales state election. This is the electoral district of Epping. Epping is a I'm just going to tell you who is the politician who represents the district of Epping. His name is Dominic Perrottet. He was the former Premier of New South Wales. He signed his own paperwork because Margaret Beazley, who comes second on the same line, is the witness. We read from left to right. So Perrottet was first, Margaret Beazley is second. She is the witness. Perrottet signed his own paperwork to get back into politics again, even though he lost the election. Right. But it gets worse. We're going to go to, as you see on the top of the screen, the electoral district of Kogarah. Kogarah is in the southern suburbs. Epping is east of the city. Kogarah is a very busy area. Been to court many times in the suburbs of Kogarah. Here it is. We just go straight to the bottom of the screen that we have Premier Dominic Perrottet signing the papers for the new Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns. What do you mean? One Premier did the paperwork for the next Premier, meaning the Governor is no longer required. I just showed you we don't need a Governor General to have a federal election. I'm showing you there's no state governor for a state election. It's all finished. It's over. It's broken. I don't even think that there's a way to repair this damage. Very quickly, state of Victoria. This was the election in November last year. We'll go down the page. Here it is, Linda Dessau, the former governor of Victoria, who's now stepped down for a Republican governor, because Andrews couldn't wait to get someone who hates the king, but we've got a Republican governor in our government house. So she signed the paperwork with no seal. No seal, it's just her handwriting. There's the writ received on the 1st of November, 3 weeks before the election. and there's no signatures to finish the paperwork. This was handed in as the documentation in a Supreme Court case to challenge the election on the 2nd of December after the election was held. They said this was sufficient. No signatures to close off the contract that we had an election in Victoria. All blank. No one signed, no one, no governor, no electoral commissioner, empty. This is how we do elections in Victoria. So that was for the upper house. This is for the lower house, where our premier comes from or has his job that he's stolen. So there it is, Linda DeSalle, no seal, blank. We go back to the writ. Warwick Gately is the commissioner of the Electoral Commission. So he accepts it, and then there's nothing left. So he takes it to give the impression it's been done. It hasn't been closed. This is open. The election is still open. It hasn't been finished. This is why we're in trouble. If we do not understand how bad the situation is, we won't be able to recover our country. This is how bad it is. The next slide I'm going to show you. I show this to you as more of a curiosity than anything else because there are some people trying to throw the mud. They reported me to the ABC and they heard me on a video and they put together these words. This man advises his clients that elections, rates, and mortgages are invalid. So what they did was they took a picture of me. They blocked out most people's faces as best they could to try to blacken my name. Only problem is Emily Baker didn't have a chance to speak to me, but she tried to create a story because that's what the ABC do. But I've actually sent 500 pages into Ita Buttrose. You are concealing grand treason against the people of Australia. You will give me 1 hour of prime time to defend defend this article. They declined. I said, when I take you to court, you're going to have to prove that we do have elections. And she can't do it. I've just proven it to you. And they don't know what to do because they can't answer my 500-page submission. I'm showing this to you because I'm telling people going to court, bring this paper into court and say to the magistrate or judge, this man is saying that there are no elections which are valid. If there's no elections, there's no courts. There's no state of emergency. There's no mandates. There's no speeding tickets. There's no red light cameras. If there are no elections which are valid. I'm saying this to you all, ladies and gentlemen, because we are going into the greatest fraud that we will ever see in our country's history by bringing in the First Nations people, the Indigenous people of our country who do not want it, who do not have any connection to being part of a corporate constitution. I'm going to show you the document which had a federal member of parliament in just outside of Melbourne who stood up in rage and shouted me down and stopped me to speak when I exposed that there was no election in New South Wales because it was a Liberal. Dominic Perrottet was in the Liberal Party. This man was a Liberal. He could not let this happen. And he would not let me show this picture. I made this picture up with my friend Jerry, and we said, this is the Socialist Republic of Australia. Robert Kiyosaki took that phrase. I used it in our diagram. Every state on the mainland is now controlled by one political party, the Australian Labor Party. The Liberals in Tasmania are in minority over building a football stadium they cannot afford. It's going to drive the state into bankruptcy. But they've lost people because they were opposing what to do, and that's going to become a Labor state next election. This is what we are up against right now. They believe every state wants to be Labor. They want to be, we don't want to own land. We don't need to go and defend ourselves in court. We don't need any rights. And if they can bring in the Indigenous people, the First Nations people into the corporate constitution, they can package us up and say to Klaus Schwab, here is Australia, packaged up, done. I'm giving you my opinion. I'm giving you my commentary now. I hope I've given you the facts. We cannot trust our politicians. I'm not here to waste anyone's time anymore. I'm showing you the facts. I get accused, I get attacked, I get abused, and I could care less, because people like you are here on Monday night. You want to hear what we have to share. We're going to write this letter to give to anybody who wants to leave their name in our chat box, to get this out and to start sharing it with people. We are going to be privately prosecuting the people who are going to be part of a fraud if they cannot provide a legal writ under an appointed Governor General, under the King or Queen of England, and they can't do so. We are ready. We've got the paperwork. We've got the documents in process, ready to go right now. This is what we are fighting for. We're fighting for our children and our grandchildren who cannot fight. Because if we don't do anything, this is what's going to happen. The whole country will become socialist. No one will own anything. You won't be able to pass on your property to your children because it'll be owned by the state. I mean that. This is where we are. We're in a dangerous time. I don't hold back anymore. I'd like to hear your questions in just a moment, because I'm going to stop the recording in just a moment, but I'm just finishing off. I'm going to be talking about this subject every Monday night. And people on social media are turning their back to me because they don't believe it. They don't want to accept it. This is the picture. This is the map. This has never, ever, ever happened in our country's history, that one political party controls our country. The Constitution was not made for having a political party. They were meant to be people, men and women, representing your area, your electorate, to go to Canberra. The politicians have turned it upside down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump out of this screen. We're going to stop the recording.